Hello and welcome to another Masterclass Monday. My name is Bala Boyd and I am the Associate Director of Renaissance Theater. And my specialty is the technical side, so the sets and the props and costumes and all that kind of stuff. But I do some directing as well. So I thought today it would be fun to talk about stage food. It's like props, but it's more specific. But I can talk about some of the same ideas as we do when we're making props, and it's like small, and I can do it in this type of setting and show you stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. First and foremost, when it comes to food on stage, if you can use real food, use it. It's gonna look better because it's real. Your actors are gonna interact with it better. Anytime you can do that, do it. The thing is that sometimes it's not convenient and it's not the best scenario. So to take it like, for example, if you're in an old theater and you might have mice problems, you bring a bunch of food into backstage and you have it laying around to use, you're gonna bring the mice to that area. Also, food can spoil, actors can eat it. You know, you've got the tray of food that's set up perfect for the scene and it's sitting backstage, and every person that walks by it grabs one or two items off of it, and all of a sudden you don't have any food sitting on your tray. So there's plenty of reasons why you can do fake food. So let's jump to shopping. Just like when you're preparing a meal, you have to go out and you have to get the ingredients. Well, this is more about going and finding the ingredients that look like something. So pay attention when you're in the store, when you're in the hardware store. Dollar stores are fantastic. You find the most random stuff and it works beautifully. Look around. You just never know what you might find. But you're looking for shapes. Think about texture. Feel it, like you know what it feels like, and if it feels like the way bread would feel, or if it feels the way a cracker would feel, or if it feels more like something, maybe a fruit or something like that, that's gonna inform, like you're probably gonna be able to work with it in the same way. Think about how stuff feels in your mouth. And let yourself translate it to another sense. So if something feels creamy or chunky in your mouth when you eat it, then if you can think of a other substance that you can pick up, and if it feels chunky and smooth in your hands, then you know, okay, you're dealing with the same type of texture. All that's gonna inform you as you start trying to come up with creative ways to make these items. Another thing that you need to think about is the color. You can always paint something, but if you can find something that already is the color that you want, it saves a step, and sometimes it can look a lot more realistic. That's where we could, like the craft foam, stuff like that comes into really, really handy, because you've got that base color, and it's that color all the way through. So when you cut it, you aren't losing the color that you're wanting to use. And then you can just add a little bit of paint and texture to give some depth and some aging when you do that. Okay, let's jump to supplies, stuff that I use all the time, anytime I'm making food in particular, but a lot of times just props. So like with liquid, when you're dealing with drinks, it's a product called liquid latex. It's what florists that use fake flowers, if you want drops of water on your plants or your flowers, or if you want it to look like it's sitting in a vase of water, it's what they use for that. And all you have to do is add some food coloring, and it can then look like wine or whiskey or whatever you want it to look like. There's two products. Be careful if you go out to get some of this stuff. There's two types. There's one that's heat activated, and then there's one that looks like an epoxy. It comes in two different containers, and you mix that together, and it makes a chemical reaction, but when it dries, it gets really hard and it won't move. The other one is heat activated. It stays a little bit soft, and where you store your stuff, if it's hot at all, that's gonna melt, or if you knock it over, if it ends up laying, it's gonna melt and fall out. I definitely recommend the two-part epoxy version. It stays nice and hard, and it's a lot more usable. Another supply that I use constantly, all the time, in prop making, food making, it's foam. Any kind of foam, you'll find a use for it. Regular foam, packing stuff, just like that. Packing materials, this came off some kind of probably microphone. The soft foam, like bed coverings, any size, any shape, any depth. Foam is wonderful, keep it all. And craft foam, stuff like that you find in Walmart or Hobby Lobby, just those sheets of foam. Their color, like I said, it's the same color all the way through. There's different thicknesses. It's fantastic. While we're talking about foam, you're gonna have to glue foam together at some point. What I've found to be the best, and I found this online, I was Googling glue to use on foam. And someone did a side-by-side test of a whole bunch of different glues. The one that worked the best, and I took his word for it and went and tried it out, and he had heard about it from somebody else, is this product right here. It is Glidden Gripper. It's just a primer. It's a paint primer. But if you take 2 pieces of foam, you put this on, spread it on wet one side, put it 2 pieces of foam together, put a weight on top of them so they stick, come back and try to pull that apart, you will rip every piece of foam apart before that glue will not let go. It becomes like concrete in the middle of it. Highly recommend this. You can get it at Home Depot. Lowe's doesn't carry it, Home Depot carries it. Another product I use all the time in food making is caulk. Get it anywhere, all hardware stores, Walmarts. Very, very usable for multiple things. You'll see all that later whenever I'm showing you the actual food. But yeah, just plain old caulk. There's different colors of it. You don't even need a caulk gun because most of the time you're gonna cut this tube open and mix stuff with it to give it color that you're looking for. And yeah, that's another product. And last but not least, there's a product, and I'm out of it right now, so I don't have it to show you, but it's spray foam, and it's the stuff, you'll find it in construction areas. Usually it's red or blue case, and it has like the little skinny spout on it. And it's an expandable foam that you use to like fill cracks in walls and construction and stuff like that. But you can drop a little bitty dab about this big and it'll expand really big. But it has the texture of bread on the inside. All right, let's move to constructing the stuff. So when you're constructing some tools that you'll want, like I said before, the glue, but actual tool-wise, I would recommend you getting a heat gun. A really fun tool, if you have the money, is a foam cutter. And this tool heats up, and you take this wire, and there's a bunch of different ends, and it'll just slice right through foam, make a nice smooth cut. You can carve all sorts of things with it. When you're constructing, you want to prep each item that's going to be in your food individually. So when you're making your food, you want to prepare each item that's going to be a part of your food. So if you're making a sandwich, your bread's separate, your meat's separate, your lettuce is separate, tomatoes are separate, all painted, and then you put it all together just like a sandwich. That's going to come across and be the most realistic. And I also would highly recommend that you test your idea on one piece. Don't go and buy tons of things and then you're going to make 1,000,000 sandwiches or 100 hors d'oeuvres. Try one and then make sure it works. Then you know the process, and then you go and you buy all your supplies, because then you know exactly what works and what doesn't, so you aren't sitting there with a bunch of wasted stuff. All right, enough about that stuff. Let's look at some food. I wanted to make something that looked like it was had caviar on it. So I found these little bitty black beads, and when I mixed them with glue, they stayed together and kind of looked like caviar. So then I took foam. Again, this is a soft foam, more like what you'd sleep on, like a bed cover. But with a little bit of paint on it, it gets hard on the edges. And so I made each one look like it was toasted. Took a little caulk, made a little smear on there, put a dab of beads in glue, and then added a little bit of, this is foam to look like, I don't even know what this is supposed to be made of, but it just looks like it's food. This was fun. I wanted to make some deviled eggs. So I took caulk, mixed it with some yellow paint, dropped in some green, cut up green craft foam, then mixed it all together. Found these foam eggs. They were a full foam egg, cut them in half, scooped out with my hot wire cutter, just like, so it looked like an egg where the egg yolk was. Soaked the egg in glossy white craft paint so that it had a sheen to it. It actually looked like an egg. Then I mixed up my the stuffing, and I put it all in there, And just like you would making deviled eggs, there's no different. I was having a hard time trying to figure out what I wanted to use for the spice on top. I'm not even sure what it's called. Went through a lot of things, couldn't figure it out, and then I pulled out some watercolor paint and I broke open the red, and it's in that hard disc. And I just broke it all up, smashed it all up until it was a fine powder, sprinkled it on top, done. Okay, drinks can be fun. It's always interesting when something looks like it's gonna spill and it won't. Don't overestimate packaging. And in the Heights, we had the bodega, and Usanavi's bodega, and it was just full of food and all sorts of products. And basically what I did was I told all of the techies, and then I told my wife to save any package once we use the food out of it or the product. Keep the packages. It's just black paint. It looks like a full bottle of Coke that cannot spill or spew or get busted. Martinis. This is just that liquid latex with the clay olives on a skewer dropped in there, and you heat it up, pour it in there, and it hardens and looks pretty real. Hardest thing about when you do the fake drinks, and we realized this the first time we gave them to actors, is as soon as the actor, they'll pick it up very careful when you first see it because it looks like there's liquid in there, and as soon as you realize that the liquid doesn't spill, they forget about it. So actors will be having conversations with each other, and they're just like, they're supposed to be speaking and acting and emoting and being careful with their drinks so they don't spill it, and they're talking like this, and they're moving around, and it's just like, all of a sudden it just totally breaks it. So we had to keep harking on them, like, remember, your glass is full of liquid. So this is, again, that liquid latex. This is the hard kind with just a little food coloring to give it that color. All right, I think that's it. That's a glimpse inside of the weird world of theater, behind the scenes, making strange things out of strange things. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hope that if this isn't information that you will use, that at least you will gain a little bit of an appreciation for what some of our technical students and technical people behind the scenes do. Yeah, thank you.